All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to AWCI's webinar. Today's presentation is Women in Construction, and I'm Anne-Marie Salvatelli, AWCI's Director of Education. Before we start, we have a few housekeeping items. All attendees should be on mute for today's presentation. Should you have a question at any time during the broadcast, please enter that using the question box in the GoToWebinar dashboard. We will have a Q&A at the end of our presentation, and we'll make every attempt to answer all of your questions. If you have any audio or visual issues during today's presentation, please do not hesitate to use the chat function in your dashboard, and we'll make every attempt to resolve any issues that may arise as quickly as possible. Today's program will be recorded and uploaded to AWCI's YouTube channel, and we'll include that link in your post-event email. Before we begin, we have two attendee polls. These are to help us get an idea of who is in our audience today. So I'm going to launch our first poll. So for the attendees, if you can, the poll is being distributed. We're asking how long you've been in the workforce. So if everyone can just take a few seconds, check your box, hit submit. And responses are still coming in, so I'll wait a few more seconds. Everyone's doing some fast clicking, so thank you. Okay, we'll close that one out. And then let's see, we will ask the second one, and then we'll take a look at our results. So now the second question should be launching, and this is asking our attendees to please provide us with a selection of what is your current role. Wait about 30 more seconds. Okay, so it looks like a lot. We've gotten in just about all respondents. Okay, and now we will share these. Oops. So can everyone see the results? It's not showing on my screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you see it for both or just?
Just the first.
Okay.
Excuse me, the second question.
I have the current role. That's the only one I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. Now we should see that first one, how long. So a lot of folks on the webinar today, we have about 47% are within the first 1 to 5 years. Then we're increasing or decreasing as the years increase. 21%, 16, 11, and 5% have been in the industry a little bit more than 20 years. Okay, thank you all for that. And now we will proceed, and I'd like to introduce today's panelists. So starting off, we have Dr. Mitty Cannon, President of Power Up Incorporated. Dr. Cannon has been engaged in workforce development in the construction industry for over 2 decades. Over the years, she has recognized that statistically, the construction industry was consistently challenged to pull in qualified and diverse workforce, specifically the industry's overwhelming deficit in female employees. Through recognizing this critical shortage, Dr. Cannon has developed a passion for exposing young women to careers in construction through innovative programming. Dr. Cannon initially ran summer camps for young women to expose them to careers in the construction industry. Those successful programs led Dr. Cannon to her brainchild, Power Up. It's a mother-daughter thing. Next is Victoria Cowan, Senior Project Manager at Performance Contracting Incorporated. Victoria is a native of Colorado, currently residing in California, and has a background in civil and structural engineering. She has been in the industry for over 17 years and is passionate about field operations and reducing problems during design that help construction flow smoothly. Victoria is blessed to have spent the last 12 years with Performance Contracting, a $1 billion+ employee-owned company, as head of Integration Design Department for PCI in the San Francisco Bay Area. Victoria and her team at PCI are actively working on pushing design completeness and integration with field operations so fabrications of interior and exterior wall panels becomes normal and not the exception on projects. In her free time, Victoria enjoys spending time with her husband and 2 children who are 3 and 5 and enjoying their hobbies, which include playing tag, anything that's outdoors, especially skiing, hiking, and kayaking. Next, we have Jennifer Ferdinand Strong, who is the Safety Director at Associated Drywall Partners. Jennifer has more than 20 years experience in occupational safety and health management in both the general and industry and construction fields. She has extensive education in occupational safety and health and is a OSHA 500 and OSHA 501 authorized trainer for both the 10 and 30-hour courses since 2013. She has earned several certifications and accreditations through NFPA and OSHA. Committed to providing a safe and healthful workplace, Jennifer is often found on the field, in the field on various commercial and residential projects. She has helped Associated Drywall Partners reach over 1 million man-hours without a lost time incident, along with 2 years and counting, no recordable incidents as of January 2021. This accomplishment is through the continuous education and hands-on training she provides. Outside of work, Jennifer enjoys plays in several billiard leagues, enjoys traveling and bragging about her children and grandchildren. So welcome, Jennifer. And lastly, let's welcome Kim Galey, is president of Heartwood Building Group Incorporated. Kim earned a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering and has worked in the industry since 1992. Her family-owned women's business enterprise is a proud union employer, working primarily on hospital and education projects in the Philadelphia area. Sporting a hard hat and steel-toed boots on a construction job site is as comfortable to Kim as using the latest technology to estimate a project. Kim's passion is her family. She is a wife and mother of 2 amazing daughters. She is also the head of Wishes and Dreams for Cystic Fibrosis, a charitable organization that has raised millions to aid in the research fight to change lives of those living with cystic fibrosis. So let's begin our conversation today. We're going to start out talking about how all of you got started in the industry and what your roles are. So Kim, I'll begin with you. How and why did you choose construction?
Well, since I was little, I loved watching things be built. My father was a union carpenter. I was always intrigued with that. He encouraged me to get more on the engineering side than the architectural side, which was a very good point of direction for me. Currently, I am president and co-owner with my brother of that's basically $12 to $14 million a year construction business, drywall contractor in the city of Philadelphia.
Great. And what does your current role entail?
Everything. When you're a small business, it's everything. It's estimating, project management, material procurement, payables, receivables, payroll, taxes, all of it.
Okay.
Marketing, sales, it's all of it.
Soup to nuts, they'll say, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Cannon, what led you to the construction industry, and what does your current role entail?
So my curiosity is what led me to the construction industry. I was on a job site overseeing an on-site drug testing program, which I was supposed to have been on my way to med school, and heard about an opportunity to work for a toxicology company for a special project. And I was encouraged to do that because it would look good on my resume for med school. So I took the advice of one of my mentors who was a doctor and did that. And of course, I didn't know that it was going to lead me to a construction site to set up an on-site laboratory to do that. So I did that and was always curious as to why I saw a lot of men. And it was men, their sons, their brother-in-laws. It was a guy thing. And so I was always curious as to why I didn't see women. And I would ask questions about it, and I would always be given short answers. And I was never allowed to go through the gates. Everything I did was on the outside of the gate. So it was kind of like in the parking lot area. And I was just curious as to what's going on out there that, I don't see women. I'm not allowed to go there, and I don't get very thorough answers. I just got enough information just to kind of appease me. At least that's what they thought. And so all the while, curiosity was just eating me up and just getting the best of me. So ended up falling in love with an electrician, electrical engineer. We got married. I had a plan that if I could convince him to take his wife on a job site and he'd go as a journeyman and I could be his helper like I saw fathers and sons doing, then I thought maybe then I could find out why I didn't see women. And so I finally, learned how to present myself as an electrical helper, which I knew nothing about electrical. So I stretched it a little bit. I talked about how I can bend conduit and install cable tray and terminate and all this good stuff. I was that girl that would use a towel to plug my curling iron and to unplug it because I was afraid of getting shot. But I said I could do all these other things, but I was saying what I had to say to get on the job site. It worked after several attempts. So then my husband kept his word and we went on construction shutdown. And that's how I got into the industry after being curious and seeing what was going on the job site after running the drug testing program. So that's what sparked the interest. That's how I got in it. And I haven't seen med school since then. So I stayed in construction and here I am.
Thank you.
I'm the founder of Power Up. It's a nonprofit where I introduce young girls and their mothers to careers in construction and engineering. And I also have a consulting business called CRL Resources. And I have companies, associations, and contractors implement and design training programs. And I also audit training programs for NCCER.
Fabulous. Thank you. Victoria, your career started on the general contractor side when you worked for Rudolph and Sletton. What opportunity did you see to transition from a GC to a subcontractor? And then if you could also share with us what your current role is, please.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for having me today, too. I'm very honored. I was working 80 to 90 hours a week and at a GC, and every relationship I had was falling apart. So I knew it was time for a change. A drywall company had been trying to hire me for some time, and I finally decided it was time to go so I could have a little better work-life balance. It's worked out great. I absolutely love that aspect of it. And today what I'm doing is I run the design build team as well as the BIM group for PCI in the Bay Area. So we used to go design projects and then go execute them in the field. And then design build has become such a big thing that now basically we design them and work with the field team to hand them off. It's very fun, very exciting time to be in the industry.
Thank you. And Jennifer, how did your 20-year career begin, and what was the draw for you to the construction industry?
Thank you so much. First off, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this panelist. There's some wonderful women here, and I'm just very honored and humbled to be a part of this. Probably started with my father. You know, I was his only daughter. He had no boys, so I was his son. So I was very much a tomboy growing up. I wanted to take shop class. I remember which shop class. I signed up for shop class, and the counselor's like, "Girls don't take shop class, honey. Why don't you go over here and you can learn how to cook?" I'm like, I know how to cook. So I wanted to take shop. So I kind of started with that aspect of it. And as I got older, I was in the finance business to begin with. And with finance companies closing and so forth like that, I decided, well, I need to reinvent myself. What can I do? What can I fall back on? So I kind of started out in demolition and worked my way up through a company I worked with, and they sent me to the proverbial OSHA school, as we call it, and just worked my way through. And so now I'm with a company that's a $40 million company, and I love it. I really do.
Welcome. Thank you. All right. Now we're going to have some question about mentors. So Dr. Cannon, during the Power Up event that I attended on Tuesday, two young women, Laura and Aubrey, shared that they had mentors when entering this industry. So my question to you is, did you have a mentor help you navigate your career path, or did you just have a life plan with little markers that you knew you wanted to achieve?
I thought I had a life plan with markers of what I wanted to achieve, but as I shared in the intro, that didn't last very long because I knew what I wanted to do even when I was in grade school. And so my plan was to go be a physician. And so that was what I thought I was going to do. And then this sudden change when I was working in ER medicine in the emergency room to take this toxicology opportunity is what really led me to the construction industry, because I never would have thought about the construction industry. It's not like my parents ever talked down about it or never said not to go into it. In fact, my parents were very supportive, and they told their children to be the best at whatever it is that you choose to do in life. So I was never told not to. And like Jennifer, I remember taking industrial arts because I learned how to do all kinds of things in there, and I was the only girl, which I was okay with that because then the instructor kind of gave me a lot of favoritism. So I liked that because the guys would get in trouble and I wouldn't. But I didn't have anyone at that point guiding me as to take any certain career path. My parents just knew that as parents, they had already instilled in their children that they were going to do something in life because, you know, at 18, you had to go somewhere. You had to go to work or go to college. So I knew that I was going to be a doctor, but little did I know I was going to end up on a construction site, ended up being an electrical helper that knew nothing.
Okay. So staying on the discussion with mentors, Jennifer, then Victoria, and Kim, did either of you have a mentor? And if you did, can you share that experience with us? And do you currently have a mentee in your office or in the industry? So Jennifer.
Starting out, I did not have a mentor. Basically, a lot of these ladies probably will concur with what I'm about ready to say, is that when you go into the construction field, you first start it, you're stepping into a man's world and it's their world. So you just, you know, I'm just here to participate, but now it's our world, it's everybody's world. So we're all part of it and we're all working strong in it. So when you first started out in that, you just kind of followed, you did what you were supposed to do. As I progressed from my former job to coming here to Associated Drywall Partners, I've had several mentors, but right now the one mentor will be the senior division manager, Robert Thomas. So the skills that I learned from my previous job, he has just kind of fine-tuned it as far as the construction side and project managing and so forth like that. Because like with you, Kim, we wear a lot of hats here. So not only am I the safety director, but also I handle all of our heavy equipment fleet, all of our fleet vehicles, so forth like that. So being a small family-owned company here in Indianapolis, we do wear a lot of hats. As far as mentoring anyone, I have a couple of people that I would like to say I kind of pull up underneath my wing, and they're not female, they're male, so that's even better that they're having a female person to be a mentor for. So I think it's wonderful.
Great. Victoria?
Yes, I've been really lucky and had some really amazing mentors throughout my career. From RNS, they actually had a structured mentorship program. So it was really wonderful, and you got switched around every few months. So that was really great. You had a lot of different perspectives. And then I've just had a few mentors that have developed organically. One of our vice presidents, Anthony Rossetti at PCI, really took me under his wing a few years ago, and it was very empowering. And he was, kind of talked to me about things to work on and, what I could do for my career. And it was just, and I knew that I had a champion in him, so that was very powerful. Regarding a mentee, similar to Jennifer, have a lot of men I work with, and some people I still call my kids. They still call me mom. Adore my PEs to death. And I have a coworker, Emmy, who's my number 2, and I think she mentors me as much as I mentor her. But she's been incredible, and it's just fun to mentor and teach people for sure.
Kim?
I would have to say my mentor was my father and my brother, and I have a superintendent who's like an uncle, and my other uncle. But then as far as my mentee, it would be my daughter. She's taking construction management. She'll be graduating early next December, or in December, and I'm thrilled to have her kind of step in, and she's been working with me part-time and on her breaks, but I look forward to when she's really done and I can really show her the ropes. And my father couldn't be any prouder to have a 3rd generation family business, going on.
Exciting.
Yeah.
So Kim, I have additional question for you. Your company is a union employer. Are you aware if the unions offer mentorships to help women in the trades?
So the union does have a thing called Sisters in the Brotherhood, which I've been a member of for the Philadelphia Carpenters Union since I was admitted into the union 25 years ago. So that's a lot of women that are literally working in the field, which I think is a great thing, that they have a camaraderie, as well as women that are part of the union and in the management side. And then the Philadelphia Union has a program called CARP. It's a Carpenter Apprentice Ready program that they're really targeting towards minorities and lower income, and getting into the high schools and getting trades, not just women, but men and women that are considered minorities in our area that are really looking to find a career path. So they're trying to get that as a formal mentoring program, so that when somebody is an apprentice, they have not only their sponsorship company, but they also have a mentor. And they're trying to really align each apprentice in this CARP program with a mentor that's not necessarily working for the same company, but someone to feedback with, which I think will be really helpful.
It sounds like some great opportunities there.
Yes.
On to talking about some challenges. So Jennifer, how has the environment for women in the trades changed since you began your career?
I think the biggest one is we have our own porta potty now. That is very important. Anyone that's been on a job site knows that is the number one thing. You go before you have to go, and you just time that stuff out, because if you ever had to use one, boys are icky. So, but no, just kidding aside, but no, a lot of things have changed. Now we're not the big white buffalo walking through a job site. People don't turn and look and say, oh, who's the girl on the floor, make comments. It's becoming more of a regular thing, and you're respected a little bit more. Like said earlier, it was a man's club, and now it's a person's club. We all, have the skill set that we're here to do a job, and as long as we can do that job, it's a great, wonderful thing. So people anymore aren't really looking at us differently, I don't feel like. I mean, there's a lot of challenges we still have to get over, but right now I think that is the biggest change right now, and it's great.
Okay, so that is the biggest change then that you've seen.
Yes.
So Kim, what is the biggest challenge for women working in the male-dominated industry, such as construction? And then what change have you seen in the field or office environments during your career?
So I was given some great advice when I went to my first job meeting. I was told, sit back, observe, and don't really speak unless you know what you're talking about. And that wasn't meant to be derogatory. That was meant probably for everybody. But I took it as a woman, just make sure you know what you're talking about before you start speaking up in a meeting, because they will chew you up and spit you out 30 years ago. And I took that advice to heart, and I made sure that I knew the drawings inside and out, and I knew where the details were. And so when we sat at a meeting, I asked a question that had 4 layers below it, and I knew every single layer, so then I think that got me respect over the years, and then everybody knew, oh, she really does know what she's talking about. So, that kind of stuff.
Victoria, what's the biggest challenge you've experienced in construction, and what type of changes have you seen during your career?
I think it's been transitioning to having children and going through the post-child of breastfeeding and doing that and trying to be on a project and figuring out how you're going to breastfeed or pump while you're on a project somewhere that's not observable. That was incredibly challenging. And I think having, similar to what Kim was talking about, knowing the technicalities and knowing that you had to be technically very proficient as a woman to really move up and to be understood and respected. But then also seeing that can be a pigeonhole for you at the same time, because then you become the technical expert that no one wants to let go of. So that probably for me has been a very significant challenge of knowing I had to be technical, know it better than anyone else. But now I'm at the point where I'm that technical expert, and it's challenging to move on from there.
Okay, and Dr. Cannon, what does the construction industry need to do to better support women currently in the trades, and what is the biggest challenge of being a woman working in construction?
First of all, I think we as women have to come together and talk about what is it that it's needed for us to come into the industry. What are our needs? And we have to understand what that is and identify that. And then that has to be communicated, and the industry leaders must be educated about what that is. And I think that's part of what has been the challenge with embracing women coming into the industry, is because how do we respond to that? What do they do to meet our needs and to understand that? So we have to really, I think, regroup and think about what that looks like and define what that is. If it's what Victoria just described as being a mother, how do I go to a job site knowing that I need to pump in a place that's not so observable? Having harnesses that are designed to fit the body in the physique of a woman, having gloves that fit, even porta-johns that are properly stopped, for a woman. So I think that has created a lot of our issues, or what we consider to be barriers and issues, is because the industry was not prepared to embrace women or to bring women into it, because everything was set up for men. So we first have to acknowledge that, and then know what the things are that are needed, and then we have to address it that way, as opposed to doing some of the things that we've done for many, many years, and that's having conferences and discussions, and it's almost like I don't want to say a fuss or complain, or I'm just going to say a vision session. Let's talk about what the problem is with solutions. Let's tell them what we need, so that way they can meet us halfway with that. So that's what I think needs to be done. That's what the industry needs to do for women who are in the industry, as well as women that we're trying to attract to the industry. I think we need to start early on and start educating women about the different opportunities much earlier. And we need to look at situations like if they're in childbearing age, if they need, assistance with child care, there needs to be more programs and initiatives that are implemented in organizations for women that talk about the industry. There needs to be professional development opportunities that are offered to women where they feel comfortable training and being developed among themselves, and having that support mechanism in place, and just making sure that they know that there's opportunity for them for advancement if that's what their option is. But we care about things like that. That's what's important to us. And so extending those opportunities is what's going to help attract more women, as well as to retain the women who are there, because we have to see that the industry is supporting and meeting our needs. But we have to know what those needs are first.
Thank you. So now we're going to ask each of you about a favorite project. So Victoria, what is your favorite project that you've worked on and why?
It's Highland Hospital. It was my first project with performance contracting. It was the first true design build California hospital that was built with the design build metal stud framing. Needless to say, we learned a lot. But it was really fun. It was very collaborative. We were co-located in the architect's office for almost 3 years. It was a 7-year project. And worked day in and day out. I was in the field every day. I was in heaven. Had a great project team. We coordinated everything early on. And it ended up being just executed in a way where we had almost nothing in our way. Everyone bought into the plan. Everyone bought into the schedule. And we went and executed because there weren't designs that weren't done, or there weren't missing details. We had inspectable details. And so just being able to go out and execute a hospital seamlessly was really fulfilling. The contract side of it didn't work out so hot from the financial side, but the actual execution of it was really great. So it was also a great lesson for me to learn, just that it's not always about the field success and execution. Obviously, we're not in this we're in this business to make money and not to be give gifts. So it was wonderful, and just the collaboration on projects like that is very fulfilling.
Thank you. Kim, with having worked on so many projects over the years, which is your favorite and why?
Much to what Victoria was saying, my favorite job was also what we call a loser. So it seems like they're the ones that stick to your heart most. But we built a health and applied science center for Jefferson University here, a few miles down the road on a main street. Took an old abandoned parking lot on the campus of my daughter where she was going to college, while she's in construction management. So she got to walk by the site every day. I would be at meetings, meet her for coffee. We would walk and I would show her things. So for me, it's a building I'll always see. It's a very beautiful building. It was not fiscally very good for us, but it was our donation to Jefferson University, aside from her tuition.
Awesome. And Jennifer, do you have a favorite project that you worked on?
I do. One of my favorite projects was one of the largest ones that we've done here. At my former job, we worked on a build out for the FBI Super Bowl when we hosted the Super Bowl here. So that was one of my favorite ones there. Until we did one, we called it Park Petroleum, and it was one of the biggest projects that we have done as a construction company. But a couple of statistics was it was over 2.2 million square feet of drywall, 1.5 million linear feet of structural steel. It takes up a whole city block downtown. And so it was really interesting. It was fun. It was the coldest years we've ever had, and of course it was during the winter time. So that was one of the biggest things that we had to overcome. But I really loved it. And then kind of going back to the whole thing about women on construction, I can remember walking around that construction site, being as large as it was, and on an average, there was only 5 women on that whole site, with me included. So yeah, I have to think about that.
Dr. Cannon, Power Up Incorporated is the first organization of its kind and is consistently at the forefront of educating young talent. How are you and your team able to tackle removing barriers that have prohibited the development of a diversified and strong workforce for the construction industry?
So the first thing we do is we start at the age of 5. So we're introducing 5-year-olds to careers in construction, and we're taking them actually through the NCCR core curriculum, which introduces them to things like power tools, hand tools, safety, etc. And so we're doing that innovatively by creating games like match card games, bingo games. And so we're teaching them through playing games and understanding that, the importance of, the different core values and the core essentials that they should have about the industry. So now we're in their face, in their space, and telling them about who we are and some of the things and gadgets that we deal with. And we also think about the diversity and inclusion, how important that is, because we got to deal with the whole person. You got to start at an early age. You got to think about financial literacy. So we introduce them to financial literacy, because you could be the best welder, the best electrician, but if you don't make good financial decisions, all that skill set means nothing. So we make sure that we're introducing that to them at an early age. We use baking a cake to teach them about diversity and inclusion. So you got various ingredients that go into a cake, and they all have their function, their role. When you put all that together, you mix it up, and then you bake it. That's what happens when you pull a team of people who are all different, they have different values, different morals, come from different backgrounds. That's like baking a cake, because at the end, everybody talk about how good it smells, how good it tastes, how pretty it looks. That's no different than pulling diversified people together and coming together for common goals with common outcome. So we have fun with it like that. And then as they age, you get into the middle school. So now they're able to take the curriculum and they can really understand and comprehend it, because it's written on an 8th grade level. So we take it to another step with those girls. And we're at that point, we're now really introducing them to the core of it. So by the time they reach 7th grade, and we're following these kids, so by the time they reach 7th grade, they have a really good idea of who we are. They've been introduced to the industry. So now we're becoming a little bit more engaged. Those kids are given the opportunity to attend an Associated Builders, ABC, Board of Directors meeting. So we will invite them to industry functions, because they need to know who we are as an industry, what the associations are about, who supports us. So then we start introducing them to different people, different owners, and they start interfacing, networking, and kind of learning what is it like to be a workforce development person. So they kind of shadow me sometimes and see what my role is and some of the things that I do, other than just going to their schools once a month and having classes with them, because I do go to their schools and I do programs and workshops with them for like 2 or 3 hours a day. So then you're continuously following them. So by the time they get old enough to go to mother-daughter event, now they're really understanding and they have a really good idea. And they've had the opportunity to enroll into a CTE program, Career and Technical Education program. So now they're actually in a full-blown program that's going to be a 2-year program in their choice as far as, the craft, electrical, carpentry, welding, or what have you. Well, by the time they've done that, now you're looking at several years of exposure. They're familiar with us, they get it. And so now they have the opportunity of being, selected and interviewed by one of the contractors, because the contractors are supporting everything that we're doing from start to finish. So it really makes it full circle, and it creates that pipeline. And so by doing that, it helps to remove some of that stigma, because now they've been introduced to it so early. You can't expect to get return on the investment immediately, because if you're starting so young like that, it takes time. But even when we start at middle school, we're seeing where young ladies, and you witnessed that the other night, Anna Marie, when you saw Ambry, who had attended one of, the Power Up event, and now she's in industry. So we have several success stories that are like that. And then I also go on to tap into those adult women who, may not have had the opportunity of being introduced at an earlier age, but then I still have an opportunity to work with them. So then I offer training programs for low income or sometimes regardless of their income, and introduce them to a year of training at no cost to them. And I make sure I focus on mental stability, financial literacy, diversity and inclusion, as well as the core, and then a year of electrical or welding or whatever their choice is of the career that pathway that they want to follow in construction. So that's what I found success in with my team. That seems to work for us. And so as long as it works, we'll continue to do that. And that's something that we're willing to do anywhere. So it's not just an Alabama-based thing. This is something that can be replicated anywhere. And
Fabulous.
partnerships are always important. Relationships with industry, education, associations, workforce councils. We make sure there's a collaboration as well.
Thank you. Jennifer, what is your favorite tool? So what is your most challenging, thinking of maybe a confined space or height issues?
Okay, well, actually, this is going to kind of a little bit off topic, but my favorite tool will be my mind, obviously, that I use all the time on the job site will be my mind and my quick wit. You have to be, like Kim said, you have to be knowledgeable of what you're talking about, or they will chew you up, spit you out, and then kick you and peel you off their shoes and then, do it over again. So you have to, like you said, you need to know what you're talking about and need to know your skill set properly. As far as being challenging on anything, as you discussed before, Dr. Cannon, women with PPE fitting properly. Luckily, I am 6'2". I'm a very tall person, so I'm fortunate enough to be able to fit into a lot of PPE. But I believe it was you, Victoria, saying that a lot of times things are loose and big. I have a couple of gals that work for us. They're itty bitty little Hispanic gals, and they're awesome, but we have to find them stuff that will fit them so that they can be safe. So that is challenging. But my favorite tool would be the telehandler. I love driving the telehandler. If they need somebody to scrap or something, I'm like, oh, pick me, let me do it. So I enjoy that.
Thank you. Dr. Cannon, did you have a favorite tool when you were out on the job?
My favorite tool was and is the sky hug. That is how I was discovered that I was greener than a blade of grass. So my first challenge was they split my husband and I up because we were supposed to be working as a team. And the superintendent decided to split us up. So then I was assigned to another journeyman. And so the first thing he decided to do is to give me a list of tools to go get from the tool room. And so, of course, I took out my little notepad and I wrote everything down, went to the tool room. And I started rattling off these things. The first thing I said was sky hook. Well, I didn't know there was no such thing as a sky hook. So that was my initiation into the industry. And so he was just checking me because he already knew I was green. I didn't realize he knew I was green, but I was. And so I've always remembered the sky hook. So I must say that has been my favorite non-existing tool.
Awesome. Victoria, you work on projects with design, build, and integrated project delivery methods. What is your favorite tool?
So the equivalent of the skyhook, which I was lucky enough not to fall for because I'd been an engineer, so I had some ideas, but it's a stud stretcher. The guys actually go get the stud stretcher. But for IPD projects, it's actually an effective big room. If you have an effective big room on those projects, that's not just a waste of everyone's time, but you're actually getting things done and it's organized correctly, you can move mountains and accomplish things that are incredible when you get everyone in a room who's really has the knowledge, who really cares about the project and understands the vision of the project. It's incredible what a team can accomplish. And when they're also not just in it for themselves, it's about the project and the benefit of the project for the owner, not an individual company. So that really makes a whole difference.
Great. And Kim, did you have a favorite tool or something that was challenging for you?
I would say I have lots of tools, I guess, that I use, but what's challenging for me is the evolution to digital. I'm old school paper girl. I like plans. I like, even if they're half size, I can see a plan and kind of encompass it in my brain and on a screen, no matter how big. I have 3 here. I look like I'm running a space mission, it's still not the same. It's not the same as pen and paper for me. And I'm going to find that very difficult to teach my daughter. You know, it's just, it's very difficult. I need to make my notes on the drawings. And so I find that difficult, and finding it very difficult to estimate on it. I'm good at it. I just don't necessarily find it very easy.
We're going to have a question about perks. So in job listings, we typically see scope of responsibilities, duties, skills, and knowledge requirements. One item that people will talk about is benefits as well. So what is a perk to each of you? Jennifer, what would be a perk of working in the industry that most people don't know about, or something that you feel is a perk?
Oh, I always have a guy for anything. So I have so many people, they will contact me and say, hey, I need this done. Do you have a guy? I go, yeah, I got a guy. Hold on a second. Before, send you the information. And that's also, it's the knowledge base. You will learn so many different things from different trades because it all goes together. Whether you're doing drywall, electrical, the plumbing, it all comes together. And as you learn that, that's the perk of it. So it's just the knowledge base and being able to grow and, learn more things. And I'm very much with him on the tactile, on the, the plan thing. I like to look at paper plans. And now I was on a job site not too long ago. They have the little scanning things. You scan your, whatever floor you're on, you scan the barcode and it will pull up the plan for that room or that section. Right there. So if you don't have it, you can just scan your phone and say, oh, no, I want to sit there and flip through paper. And yeah, I agree with that. But the is would be definitely knowledge, the room for growth, and then you can also, do a lateral move. So that is a great perk to the construction field.
Okay, Victoria, is there any perk that you would like to share?
I think what's cool about the drywall industry is that everything touches us. And like most things, your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness. It's also the hardest thing about framing is everything touches us. So we go out, we have our plan, the MEPs have theirs. Even when we planned really well, they always want us to move. Thankfully, as we drive towards prefabrication, that's going to actually minimize quite significantly, I think. But I think that's probably one of the biggest perks where people don't necessarily want to go to work. For a GC, they're looking for a sub where they're still involved a lot. I mean, the really cool thing about drywall is we touch everything. So.
Okay. Kim and then Dr. Cannon, if you could each share a perk with us.
So I was lucky to join some contractors associations here, probably about 15 years ago, really to network and to learn and to meet other owners or other companies our size. And with that came travel. It became friendships. It opened my eyes to understanding. We would commiserate and discuss different things in the field. And I would say that was a huge perk to me that I never even expected. So, in fact, I just got back from a few days away with another contractor friend that I met through this contractor association. And I sit on the board of AWCI as well. So it's that there's things like that that I never expected.
So I would agree, and I echo were you done, Kim? I'm sorry.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay. I would echo everything that's already been said. The one thing that I would like to add, especially if we have parents in the audience or young ladies who are straddling the fence about the industry, I see the industry filled with skilled professional people. We're all professionals. And just like a doctor, a lawyer, a CPA, they have academic skill sets. We apply those skill sets every day in what we do. Mathematics, that's important. So we are great mathematicians. We have to understand rolling offsets, Pythagorean theorem, physics. I mean, when we are making lifts, heavy lifts, loads and rigging and signaling, all of that is everything that anybody else would use every day. A cook, a chef, they all use measurements. I mean, so I don't want people to think that just because we're working in construction and there's a stigma and there's a perception out there that it's where people who don't want to go to college or not college material end up. That may be true that that's where some of those people end up. However, we still have to use effective communication, because I can assure you that if any of these people gave information out and if they were not effectively communicating, it could cost somebody a life or a limb. So communication skill sets are just as important to us, and it's required, just like the science, just like the math, the interpretation, deductive reasoning. So we're no different than any other profession. So I consider that to be a perk that people don't think about, because we get knocked so many times because the dirty job, the dangerous job. You can trip and fall in an office any day of the week, anywhere, a hospital, wherever, no different. But we teach people to be safe and how to protect themselves. So I just want to make sure that anybody that's in the audience, if you're contemplating that or wondering about that, we use the same skill sets as far as those things that are academic related.
Great point. So we're coming down to just the last few questions. So we'll kind of just go around the circle. What advice would you give to someone starting out in construction? So let's start with Victoria, then we'll proceed to Dr. Cannon, Kim, and then Jennifer, please.
A few things. One, make sure that you culturally align with your company. If your values are different than your company's values, it's not going to work out in the long run. It took me a long time to realize that, but you're not going to necessarily change a company by your will. So it's really important to find a company that your values align with theirs. Get in the field. The field are the greatest resource that we have. Without them, we are nothing. They are some of the most brilliant people I've met my entire life. They will take the back off their, the shirt off their back to help you. They're brilliant. They have great ideas. They want to teach you. If you want to be open-minded and respectful of them, they will teach you so many things that you had no idea about, that you certainly didn't learn in school. Succeed. And you will help them feel empowered by having to coach you, and vice versa for you being able to advance in your career and showing respect. So for the ladies, every man is married, they just don't wear wedding rings. Always assume there's a wedding ring, they just don't wear it. As a guest, that would have been very helpful for me to know.
I agree with everything Victoria said, and just to add to that, I would advise women to know their worth and to be self-confident. It's not a man's world, it's anybody's world. You can choose to be whoever you want and work in any industry of your choice. I'm a believer that the construction industry, it needs women, and women need industry, but I will tell you, I don't think that we should lower the standards to the point that it makes it unsafe or make it a place where nobody would want to work. But it's not for everybody. It's not for every woman, just like it's not for every man. So just make sure that you know that this is where you want to be, and that you're willing to be a part of an industry that's willing to give back and that will support, but you got to be willing to do your part as well. So being confident and being willing to be a team player and knowing your worth, and make sure that you respect yourself, because you got to respect yourself, and it starts here first. And that way you demand that respect, and you will be a respected person. So it's not because you're working around a lot of men, it's all about how you carry yourself and what precedents you set for yourself.
And Kim?
I agree with everyone. And I would just say that I believe women have a special skill set, just that are natural to us, and management and kind of taking real full control of something, or taking full leadership in it, is something that women have just intuitive. So embrace that.
Jennifer?
Well, everyone's pretty much, hit it all on the head. Yeah, so I agree with everything that everyone has said, and especially educate yourself, sit back, like you said earlier, Kim, sit back, listen. Just because we're women doesn't mean that we automatically should demand the respect, or hey, I'm a woman, so you must, you need to know what you're doing and find your place through the job site. So education definitely, and like you said, Dr. Cannon, it's not for everyone. So just make sure that this is a field that you want to enter it. Either you're going to go into the engineering design side of it, or you want to be a laborer or somewhere in between. It's available to you. We need you. Come join.
Okay, so I know we're getting close on time, and Victoria, you have another meeting. Just want to be respectful of all of you, and thank you. So we'll just kind of tie this one together. Victoria, if you want to go first, please. How can we become leaders for reaching out to get more women in the industry? And then also, Victoria, what is your favorite part of your career?
I mean, I think what Dr. Cannon is doing is incredible. I think it's also whatever we can do in the industry, and probably a cultural shift as well, that, going to trades, it's a phenomenal way to support yourself and your family. And there are different trades that aren't as labor intensive, and don't break your body as much, that I think are probably, more fit for some women, like my stature, who I'm teeny. It's a little more challenging for me to do a heavy lifting job every day. Trying to get that out there, working with the unions to get them to really push for that and start educating younger women. I mean, what Dr. Cannon's doing is incredible, and I think that's really where it starts. My favorite thing about what I do is building buildings that make a difference. We're a group of people collaborating together to come together to build buildings that truly make a difference. I've worked on buildings that are creating cures for cancer, that are creating, the AIDS, treatments, and really incredible things. And it's just really awesome to see a building that, one of them treats my son. It's very fulfilling to know that something you just built is having an impact on the world. That's my favorite part.
Thank you. And if you have to go before we end, feel free. We understand.
Absolutely. Very honored to have been here. Thank you.
Sure. So Dr. Cannon, what do you think we can do to reach out and get more women interested? And then please share with us the favorite part of your career.
So as I spoke on earlier, educating earlier, I think that, education is very important. Engaging people in our industry. There's so many different ways and things that we can do to bring women closer to where we are. We can invite them and make them a part of different initiatives and programs that we have. If you have things going on within your organization, it may be that you can invite, other women, maybe high school girls or young ladies who are in college, whether it's community college, trade programs. Extend invites through partnerships and relationships. So you bring them into the folds of what we're doing, because as long as we continue to stay in our little silo, our little world of what we do, and if we don't bring people into it, they're not going to know about us. So we have to educate them about it and then engage them in what it is that we're doing. And once that you have that education and engagement going, then they're more likely to want to explore who we are. So I think doing more of that is really going to be important going forward. And then making ourselves successful women, we have to be accessible to people. It bothers me sometimes that I meet successful women, and then when I reach out for programs like what I do, you can't get to those women. Sometimes I think women become so successful that they're no longer available anymore. And that's not a good thing. So we have to keep that in mind, that as we move up the ladder and we become more successful, we still have to give back and help those others come up, because we talk about mentoring, sponsorships, and champions. We have to continue to do that no matter how successful or how high up the ladder we become. We got to think about helping and paving the way for others who may be in need of that. They may need someone to help open a door for them. And so sometimes I don't think it's that we forget. We just become so busy that it's hard to be a part of some of these type things. And I think I would love to see more of that in more successful women being more involved, because I know there's some women out there who are very, very successful. And if I have a hard time getting them to return a phone call or respond to an email, I know the girls and their mothers, they don't stand a chance in heaven of that happening. So I think that's very important. And what I really enjoy about my career is being able to give back unselfishly and share my expertise and my experience to help educate, engage, and others who want to explore the construction industry and be a part of us.
Thank you. And Kim, what are your thoughts about possibly increasing, engaging women to the construction industry? And then what is the favorite part of your career?
I actually do agree. I think we need to be stronger with it in high school, offering classes, like even just basic, like an estimating class or plan reading or something, just to see if there sparks an interest and go from there. There seems to be classes geared towards maybe engineering, but it doesn't always have to be engineering. Some kids might not have the skill set to make it to engineering school, but if they were interested at all in the construction and how things went together, you could start to foster it. I was actually going to have a conversation with my daughter's high school. I have a younger daughter in high school who has nothing to do with construction, at least for now. But I think that it's important that girls can be taught that that's even an option. It's really not something that comes up as an option, like, oh, I'm going to go into construction. It's not something you're going to hear typically from a high school girl. I mean, but it is very much, I would agree with Victoria, it is a great living. You can do amazing things in the trades, in the fields, in any aspect, as we can all see here. And I think it's something that I agree with Dr. Cannon. We need to all step up as leaders in this industry and start promoting it for younger generations.
Thank you. And Jennifer, if you could share your thoughts with us.
Basically, again, what everyone else has said. So that you guys make it easy for me, so I don't have to come up with anything. So thank you so much. But I agree 100%. Another thing is, like, I might age myself, but I'm in my 50s, and when I was in high school, they had Vo-Tech, and then they had a course where girls could go to beauty school to take it's dead serious beauty school or become a CNA. Guys would go to shop class, would go here or that, or the girls could go do that. And you never ever once heard, hey, ladies, would you like to, try to go over here to body shop or, a construction course or something like that. I just think that it just needs more education needs to happen, because unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to go to college. My parents could not afford it, nor it was never even on the table. So through self-education and so forth like that, with opportunities like programs with Dr. Cannon, with mentoring and so forth like that, I just think it's wonderful that it will open up the doors for ladies. And as far as what's the favorite part of my career, obviously it's keeping people safe, the people I meet. And then also as I'm driving down the road, I know my daughter, she's up at Purdue, my youngest one, every place we go, whether be in Birmingham, we've done projects in Birmingham all the way up to 65 to Michigan. Wherever we go, I'm like, oh, we did that building. See, that's what we did. We did this over here, and this is that, and it's kind of like I'm leaving a little bit. I feel like I'm leaving a little bit of my legacy behind. It's kind of your immortality. It's like, hey, I helped build that. It may not be there in 40, 50 years, but neither will I. But at least I helped build that. It's really neat.
Oh, well, thank you so much, ladies, for taking all of your time and sharing your stories and experience with us. It's just been great to hear so many different backgrounds come together, and not thinking, it's not one mold that everyone needs to fit into and stuff. So thank you so much for sharing your stories and time with us today. On behalf of AWCI, again, I'd like to thank all of our presenters and our attendees for joining us. And our next webinar will focus on the economy. That we are finalizing the date and time, but that will be held in April. So keep an eye out for some emails with details on that. And thanks again, everyone, for your time today. I'll go through any questions. If we have some questions, I'll email those to our presenters and connect the attendees with you. Just want to be respectful of everyone's time. So thank you so much today, everyone. Have a lovely end of the week and weekend.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. And Anna Marie, please share my information if anybody wants it. I'm happy for someone to call me. They can call me on my cell or whatever. That is perfectly fine with me. I want to be available if someone wants to talk.
Okay, awesome. We'll include that in an email wrap up to everyone then with the link of the recording.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.